Hello, it's me. I'm back with another book review. Am I going to review any of the books that are behind me? Any of the, different genres and authors? Nope, it's going to be another Sanderson. Yep, I'm doing another Sanderson review. Beautiful poop, muddy brown, Lost Metal. This is the Lost Metal. This is the final book in Scadrial in the current era. Next era is going to be all in the future. It's going to be really cool. I have a lot of very strong thoughts on this tome, and I think it's a tome. It's not quite like Oathbringer, but it's pretty big. So I'm going to share them with you. There's going to be non-spoilers, and there's going to be spoilers. There'll be time codes for when to skip if you don't want spoilers later on. But in case you just want a very quick summation and an initial thoughts, it's okay. Like a 3.2 wellies out of 5. It's all right. But let's get into it. The Lost Metal. The Last of Mistborn for probably quite a while. 8 minutes until Sanderson writes the next one. I'm over here in the corner of my living room where my cat has completely scratched all the walls to absolute oblivion to tell you that you should like the video. You should also subscribe for more book content and other essays that are going to be coming soon. I'd also love it if you let me know down below your particular thoughts on Lost Metal. And you know what? I also want to hear people's opinion on Sanderson specifically. I would be really interested to know what people think about Sanderson's writing and his world building, because I think while most people really like it, I think there's some people who kind of hate it, and I kind of want to hear from them. Hit me up with your hatred. Lost Metal. It's book 4. This is the kind of culmination book. This book should be everything that it has been leading up to. Everything. This should be like dramatic and tense and interesting. And it's just kind of not. It's all right. There's a lot of tense action, kind of like a corny 1950s action drama at times. But you know what? It's okay. I found it really weak. We're going to talk about spoilers later on, but in broad terms, it's sort of the culmination of everyone's careers. Wax is now a senator. Wayne is now like a big police officer. Everyone's got, they're kind of like at the pinnacle, but there's one big problem. There's a god out to stop them. And I sound bored because I was bored. You definitely need to have read more Cosmere-related text to really get the most out of this. This book has been edited down really heavily. Like, they'll describe doing something, and they'll be there, and they'll be doing it. And there'll be like a chapter in between where there's some other people, because there's other side characters. You get Marassi, who's, I'm going to be honest, it's Sanderson's I need a strong female character. Shallan and Stormlight. Not counting female characters whom are just the main character, but I mean in other texts. But I mean when Sanderson kind of puts a female character in because they're a female character and they want to be there because he wants to create a well-rounded cast. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It's why I have all men or all women. It's good to vary. I think there's different perspectives you can gain from that. But Marassi is just sort of there. Her purpose is to just be kind of there and provide exposition. And frustratingly, she's the more interesting parts of the book, though she has almost no relevance to certain things until she very suddenly has all the relevance. This book is confusing. So much happens in Lost Metal. Literally so much occurs. And most of it starts at the start of the book. Because this is book 4 of a 4-book series, but really it's a 7-book series because this is Era 2. Everything that happens should probably be the culmination of all the events leading up to it, but they're not. Almost other than the fact that the implication seems to be that all the bad stuff that happened in Era 2 is actually organized by the evil guys who are in this one. Not really. They don't really have any relevance to it. You could just be like, oh, it was the bad guys. No, it's just a new threat that apparently was there all along. There's no real evidence of it. It feels a bit like Villain of the Week, like I said 1950s drama. Now I'm going to say 1960s cartoon, like an action cartoon or like G.I. Joe. The villains are weak. We'll talk about that later on. I can say that a lot. It's hard to talk about Cosmere non-spoilery other than to give broad generalities and to say, it's okay. You like Sanderson? You're probably going to enjoy it. Action's a little weak. Some of the magic is kind of lame, though I've always thought that about Era 2. In Era 1, the Mistborns and the use of Metalborn and the way the magic system presents itself really felt new and innovative, and to the characters it felt new and innovative. It was the sort of secret thing that people had, and you were like hunted down if you had it. The kind of standard YA formula. Era 2, that's all gone. People are Mistborn or they're not. A lot of people are just Mistborn or Metalborn. Who cares? And now everyone is like twin. Lots of people are like Twinborn, where they have like a Feruchmal power, an allomatic power. So like you can compound powers, and that's really cool. But it all, you know, when you get like a fantasy world where the magic is just like always there, and it sort of becomes like, you know, casting a spell to wash your dishes. It just sort of feels a bit like, okay, I get it. Magic is there. All right, before we get into spoilers, I'm just going to give one last thing. This is the first time Sanderson, to my knowledge, has retconned in this text. And I find it really weird how it's just done. And it's just like, shut up, forget about it. Because I think I may have mentioned this in the Tress one as well, which I think was last week's review. But basically, in Mistborn Era 1 and in the early parts of Era 2, the two god metals of Atium and Lerasium, they retconned Atium to not be Atium, but instead to be a alloy of Atium and Electrum or some other crap or something like that. And it's because Sanderson wanted to change the Cosmere rules so that anyone could burn god metal. That sounds such a nerdy sentence. When you say that, it sounds like I'm speaking gibberish. It really does. That's the problem we talk about Cosmere stuff sometimes. It genuinely starts to sound like you're just talking nonsense. And a bit I am. And it's so weird how it's like, oh yeah, it's not Atium. It was always not Atium, right? Yeah, no worries. And it's because he retconned it and he was like, wait, that pigeonholes me and I can't. And he wants to be able to use that so that in later points in other books, people who can't normally burn metals, being Mistborn or Metalborn, they can still burn god metals and gain. Otherwise, how would you be able to burn Lerasium to become Mistborn if you weren't a Mistborn? But it's done so weirdly in this book. It talks about it. It's like, oh yeah, I've done that, and oh yeah, what do you know? It was that. Oh, that's cool. And then it almost feels like Sanderson just being like, right, I changed the rules. Shut up, please don't talk about it. Physics is different now. Be quiet. And it took me right out of it. I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But all right, I guess it felt like a book. Does that make sense? I feel like I was reading a book. Is that a sentence that makes sense? Now we're going to get to spoilers. You can jump ahead to the section of time written on your screen in cool colors. Maybe it dances. Yeah, and each individual number is going to have its own effect. Yeah, it's going to be cool. For my final thoughts. But other than that, let's go. Let's really just talk about this book and complain like crazy. And I got myself a little bit of a mead lemonade. That's right, homemade mead, homemade lemonade. And the reason is because I'm going to talk spoilers. And I'm going to say that I think this might be the weakest Sanderson book so far. This book is lame. It is wizard magic people doing cool magic action to stop a literal god who doesn't seem to bother or care that she is being defeated. It's got a side plot that's in it for 8 microseconds that's more interesting than the entire book combined. And it's got a whole ass self-sacrifice arc that is only interesting at the very end. Basically, cosmerically, it's really cool because we've got autonomy. We have a sort of other main villain of the Cosmere in terms of shards. We've already got Odium from Stormlight, and now we have autonomy. But that's really cool. And she wants to take over the planet for reasons. And the literal god of Scadrial, Harmony, is like, oh, I can't do anything, I'm too weak. Oh no, I can't see. And they never deal with that at all. At the very end, he's like, thanks for what you did. My vision is better. I promise I'll never let that happen again. And that's it. There's a literal god who was a main character from the first era, and he is the god of the planet, a combined god, and possibly one of the most, I think the most powerful shard in the Cosmere, because he is an entity that wields 2 shards, ruin and preservation, entwined into harmony, and that's really cool. But they just turn him off. It literally is like, oh yeah, I'm here. I don't have any abilities though, so I can't really help you. You're gonna have to do it on your own. That's dumb. Have a god and then go. It's like having wizards in Order the Stick, great comic. Rich Burley's written about this. There's a high level wizard character, and he said one of the biggest problems for him is he has to keep coming up with ways for Vesuvius, the wizard, to not be relevant and helpful, because they're in D&D and other fantasy things, the wizard is just OP as hell. And that's what's happened here. The literal god is like, oh no, can't help. Too bad. There are 2 main themes I want to discuss in Lost Metal that I think are really problematic for me. Number 1, there is an entire side plot that is to do with eugenics that is discussed briefly. A main character goes, oh no, that's terrible! And then they're all freed, and then it's never talked about again because the book is over. And it's introduced and then removed in 50 pages. And number two, the fact that there is rapid technological progress occurring as a result of gods meddling in the gradual development of civilization, and that is just abandoned and not really talked about. And that's so lame. Stop introducing awesome sociological discussion and then abandoning it. The eugenics program is the natural conclusion of thought of the idea of making magic hereditary, which is crazy. And actually Kelsier, by the way, Kelsier's an active character in this, but he again is useless, by the way. Kelsier, the Lord Survivor or whatever, most interesting character on Scadrial and probably going to end up being the main villain at the end of it. He literally is there, and they like telephone him, and he's like, "Oh no, Kel, it's gonna go bad." He's like, "Ah, damn, I'm on the train, I can't get there." He's on an airship. It's like, "I'll be traveling there. I'll be there in about 5 hours. Sorry, I can't help." And he just misses everything. Like the literal, like godly, semi-godly figure who is the really cool. It's like, "Oh no, I'm not there. I can't help. Never mind. It's up to you, losers." And that's it. And stop doing that. Stop deleting cool, powerful people. I hate that. But going back, Kelsier says, well, this is a natural consequence of you making magic-born people be inheriting it. Like, basically, they breed Metalborns to end up with more Metalborns. And the idea is that they're going to be able to combine and coalesce all their power for various evil purposes. Yada, yada, yada. Oh my god, this is a eugenics program. Wow, we should really discuss this. Oh, no, it's over. All the bad people have been killed, and they've released them. And the end. Never gonna hear about them again. That's it. Boring. Most interesting part of the whole book, doesn't matter. That's frustrating. And secondly, the most irritating part is the fact that Autonomy is meddling in Scadrial and is essentially trying to take over. I don't know what the hell exactly her plan is. For some reason, she's again, there's a shard and they're not here and they don't want to be. And Sanderson has to be like, wait, how do I make it so she doesn't arrive? Well, Autonomy doesn't like to do anything themselves. They make avatars on planets because she prides autonomy. Oh, and it's like, oh, let's do that. And then it's the main character's sister. It's the main character's sister. Ridiculous. Why is it the main character's sister? Get the hell out of here. Oh, and I was behind everything. I was the villain all along. It was like it just makes no freaking sense. I hate it. But the god is interfering with the world and giving powers, giving technology. And they basically want to make a nuke, right? They want to make a thermonuclear warhead. And they bung it up because Autonomy doesn't help them enough. Autonomy's like, here you go. Try rocket propulsion. And they're like, okay, let's try rocket propulsion. And they spend the entire book trying to figure out rocket propulsion. The main characters discover they were trying to figure out rocket propulsion. Discover rocket propulsion, and then fly to go beat the villains. Discover the villains have not discovered rocket propulsion because they're dummies, because their god went, hey, bomb a city. And they went, how? And they went, figure it out. And that's the plot. That is genuinely the plot of the entire book. A god went, hey, you should kill 3 million people, and that'll somehow lead to me winning. And they went, no problem, boss. How do we do that? And she went, bombs, build a bomb. And this is like a early 19th century technology society, and they went, what is a bomb, first of all, in this context, and second of all, how do I get it there? And they went, put it on a rocket ship and go, pew. That's what I'm imagining. It was like, pew, yeah, it'd be great. And that's it. And big drama. Oh my god, twist reveal. It's on a ship heading to Elendil. The more I'm talking about it, the more I'm like, this plot doesn't make any sense. It's very haphazard and strange. There's the world hoppers that are just sort of there doing nothing and not achieving anything, helping out now and again. And their entire purpose is really just to show Kelsier doing a couple things. And also so Marasi can be like, ooh, this is cool. This book's entire purpose is to develop the idea of Autonomy being an additional villain alongside Odium, and it's to give a little bit more insight to the World Hoppers, or I should say the Ghost Bloods, who are a World Hopper society primarily built on defending Scadrial. That's it. That's the whole purpose of the book. At the end of the book, Wayne is dead. Wax is like, and now I will retire, and everyone else just has a boring end to their story. This entire book's purpose was to elucidate further on concepts that Sanderson wants to play with in other books. And that's fine, but it's so lazy. The book just ends so quick. I mean, you get a lovely little like ending bit. There's like 3 weeks after the explosion, 10 weeks after the explosion, and you get a really nice little discussion with Wayne and God, with Sage, how his like soul leads off into the beyond. Blah 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 blah. I think that's really cool. A lot of the text doesn't have a specific goal. There's a big emphasis on experimentation and like we're trying to understand the Cosmere better. Some of it was a bit weak, but it wasn't bad. There was some nice bits to it, honestly. But that's the vibe of the book. And I think this book will become required reading in about 2 years when Sanderson's released 12 more books. And I think autonomy becomes a more significant villain. This book is necessary for the understanding of certain aspects. For autonomy especially, as at present she's a bit limited in scope, and we don't really know much about her. In the meantime, though, Lost Metal is just a bit of a waste. You could probably read excerpts and get just as much value. Whereas I would say, being very truthful, Book 1 and 2 of Era 2 have some of my favorite reveals in fantasy. Like, really, some of it, oh my god, the reveals, the changes, I love some of it. Mwah. Oh, fantastic. Maybe I'm just salty because Kelsier is barely in this book, and that's probably why I don't like it as much, because I want more Kelsier. I want him. I think that's about it for my spoilers. I think that's pretty much it for me for Lost Metal in general. I mean, it's about, like I said, maybe a 3.2. I'll be nice to the editor and say 3.25. Yeah, it's all right. Better. It's probably the worst Sanderson book I've read, and I think it's pretty telling of my opinion of Sanderson that the worst book has been given a rating of essentially 3.25 out of 5. That's pretty good. I enjoyed reading it. I did, but I did stop many times to go, huh? Okay. All right, thank you very much for watching. That has been the little review of The Lost Metal. It's been a long time coming. I really should have done it a while ago, but I think I just had a lot of thoughts about this, and I found myself just like thinking about them and writing them down. I actually had a little notes document, and I was kind of jotting things down. And I'm glad I waited because my opinion has changed. I actually hated it when I finished it, so I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to think about it for a little while, and it's definitely nothing to do with scheduling conflicts whatsoever. So thank you so very much for watching. Do be sure to subscribe for a lot more videos like this, including some interesting essays that are just going to be coming out shortly. You can also check out my Patreon, the link below. Let me know down below in the comments if you have any thoughts on my thoughts on Lost Metal. I think it's going to be a divisive tome. I'm not sure. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye. What is the Lost Metal in Lost Metal? I don't remember. Why is it called the Lost Metal?